Welcome back, everyone. We are incredibly privileged to have a session now on the recently released planetary decadal report. I will admit that I have not yet read all 700 pages. However, in my opinion, personally, this is the best decadal ever. And it's relevant to the moon. It's relevant to human exploration. It's relevant to SSERVI. And so we're very privileged to have 4 talks within this session. And the first one is going to be given by both Robin Canup and Phil Christensen, who were co-chairs of this decadal. And Robin and Phil, thank you so much for your service to this community. I can't even begin to say how much all of us appreciate what you did over the last couple of years. So I will turn it over to you, and thank you.
Thank you. It was a true honor. So Phil and I are going to give a couple slides, hopefully quickly at the beginning, to leave as much time as possible for our other committee members to speak to individual topics. Next slide, please. So our committee was organized by the panels shown on the left. The report itself is organized around priority science questions and particular topics. And you'll see in the boxes indicated in yellow here, parts of the report, chapters in the report that will be of particular interest to folks in this audience: the science question chapters, the RNA chapter, the chapter on human exploration, and chapter 22 that goes through our recommended program and prioritized missions. Next, please. The initial task for the steering committee was to define priority science questions to provide the intellectual framework of our report and recommendations. Here those 12 questions are. They're grouped in 3 themes. The first, origins, has 3 questions. The second, worlds and processes, has 5 questions that relate to things that affect objects since their formation and the diversity of objects in the solar system today. Theme 3 relates to life and habitability. And question 12, a question that relates to exoplanets, has connections to all 3 of these themes. And it's from these 3 themes that the title of the report, Origins, Worlds, and Life, derives. Next, please. You'll hear more about this from Tim and Brett, but within chapter 22, the committee specifies the highest priority science themes for lunar exploration. They're shown here: uncovering the lunar record of solar system origin and early history, understanding the geological processes that shape the early Earth best preserved on the moon, and revealing inner solar system volatile origin and delivery processes. Next slide, please. The report talks a lot about the important interactions and connections between science and human exploration. Tremendous support from the committee for NASA's human exploration plans and great excitement for those, and a strong sense that those should be accompanied by a similarly exciting and robust scientific program of transformative scientific discoveries, and that such a program will provide a strong motivation for a sustained and ongoing program of human exploration. You see in the boxes here and in later slides some of our specific recommendations from the report that are paraphrased. In particular, that the advancement of high priority lunar science objectives should be a key requirement of the Artemis human exploration program. Next, please. One of the very advertised this mission in great detail. This is a lunar robotic rover mission. The rover will be delivered to the lunar surface by Eclipse provider. The rover would undertake a long traverse across the South Pole Lake and Basin, collecting about 100 kilograms of carefully selected samples along the way, and then deliver those samples to a region on the lunar surface for their return by Artemis astronauts. And this was seen as an outstanding way to expand the partnership between NASA's human and scientific efforts at the moon, And the recommendation in the report is that Endurance A be implemented as a strategic mission as the top priority of the LDEP program in the next decade. Next, please, and I'll turn it over to Phil.
And again, to echo what Robin said, it's a real pleasure to get the chance to talk to you all today. We did spend a fair amount of time in the committee looking at SSERVI and coming up with recommendations. It's clearly a substantial RNA program that allows larger and longer term awards. At the present, its primary support comes from PSD, and there's additional support from the human side, but a lot of the money is coming from PSD. And from that, our recommendation and our comment is that it's a very valuable and potentially powerful means to foster this interaction between science and the human exploration side. But as a PSD-funded program, we felt that it should emphasize the decadal level science, the significant science that can be enabled by human exploration. And that its activities really need to reflect a balance between science and exploration that is consistent with that level of funding. So we, as Robin said, we're really looking to increase the science focus of human exploration. Next. One of the key tasks was to not just come up with the program, but show that that program fits within the available funding. We looked at two programs. One we called the LEVEL program, which was essentially the current funding augmented by inflation throughout the decade. That does some very important things. For example, it increases RNA by about 700 million over the decade above the current plan. We also looked at a recommended program, and obviously that's what we would prefer. This really addressed our recommendations and the key things we felt were important. It results in a budget that's about 20% higher across the decade, but we felt it's strongly supported by the science that can be done. And in that, there's about a 1.2 billion increase in RNA. So we took RNA extremely seriously and felt this was really important. Both programs, as you can see, have very strong support for lunar exploration. In fact, we didn't reduce the lunar exploration line at all in going down to the LEVEL program. And they both support a mid-decade start of Endurance A. Next. Some of the key takeaways from the report for near-term science-human connections, as we've been stressing, we really believe in the importance of in situ science and sample return across all of the themes in planetary science, and that's incredibly relevant for the moon. We feel that PSD should have a strategic program of lunar science, not a patchwork of missions, but really a long-term strategic scientific plan. We should continue to support commercial innovation. The long-range Endurance rover should be implemented as a strategic medium-class mission, and that SSERVI should continue to play a central role in fostering this idea of decadal level science that's enabled by human exploration, but really is the foundation upon which a sustainable human exploration program is built. And I think with that, we'll turn it back and hear from some of our other speakers.